Right, guys. So Eddie Hearn's calling for Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3 to be cancelled. Basically, if it has any impact on Dillian White's mandatory shot, or any impact on the potential Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua summer 2021 fight or whatever. So let's quickly jump into what Eddie Hearn's actually saying. Eddie Hearn calling for the fight to be cancelled. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's jump into what's Eddie saying about this. Obviously, Eddie Hearn was talking to Kugan Cassius IFL TV. He said, if he does, then I think that fight should be cancelled. Obviously, he's talking about if the fight Wilder 3-3 is postponed. He said, I think that Dillian White should be enforced immediately as the mandatory for Tyson Fury. We've already got a deadline of the end of February. Why can't they do the fight? Yes, we know there's a pandemic, but Joshua's fine. All the major fights are going to take place. So I don't know. I don't see how that's even an argument. So those are the words of Eddie Hearn. So obviously Eddie Hearn talks about all the major fights happening. We actually don't know a date for Joshua versus Kubrat-Pulev yet. So we don't actually know when that fight's going to happen. They haven't got back to the fans with a date for Joshua versus Kubrat-Pulev. So Eddie Hearn talking about, all the big fights and, are happening and all this, that and the other. He hasn't set a date for Joshua versus Pulev. Do we even know a date for Chisora versus Usyk? We don't. Where are the big dates that Eddie Hearn's meant to be setting? We don't know. We don't know when these fights are happening. But we do know Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder should be set to take place in December. I think they're looking at December. If it was earlier than December, I know they were looking at potentially Tyson Fury Wilder fighting in China in November. Not sure about that one, but December is the date that's been floating around for Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. In terms of Eddie Hearn's comments talking about, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3 should be cancelled. First of all, it's not going to be cancelled because there's contracts. Deontay Wilder's not going to let go of that trilogy. If he lets go of that trilogy, how on earth is Deontay Wilder going to find himself back into the mainframe of world title contention anytime soon? That is his route and his ticket to potentially put his face back in the undisputed, table, so to speak. So I feel like this trilogy is definitely going to happen. There's no cancellations. There's still a lot of money. Deontay Wilder's team is going to want to make that money. Tyson Fury's team, there's not that many massive fights out there. So when you can get big giants like Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder together, there's always money to be made. Fury's going to make his money. Deontay's going to make his money. Happy days. So no cancellations going to be happening. That's my take. But in terms of motivation for there to be a cancellation, obviously I can see why Eddie Hearn would want there to be a cancellation, because he doesn't want any pushback from Dillian White's corner. He needs to look like he's fighting for Dillian White's corner. Of late, he's not been looking like that. He's looking like he's been all the way 100% Team AJ. Dillian White's not been getting his title shot. So obviously, in terms of his relationship with Dillian White, I think he's on a fight by fight basis. He's working with Eddie Hearn. He needs to look like he's fighting Dillian White's corner. To try and push for Dillian White's mandatory shot, because if that trilogy does get pushed back again from December into February, in the month that Dillian White is actually meant to get his mandatory shot, that means that Dillian White's not going to get his shot for a long time, because obviously if Tyson Fury's to get through Deontay Wilder, and let's say they did fight in February 2021, then obviously Eddie Hearn's planning for Fury versus AJ. When was it? March, April, May, June. It'll be 4 or 5 months, before Tyson Fury is meant to fight Anthony Joshua. So where does Dillian White get his shot? Where would the Dillian White fit into the plans? There's potential that if this fight, the trilogy gets pushed back into February, there's potential that Dillian White is not going to be fighting no mandatory for a long time. And this is assuming he actually beats Povetkin. And if he fights anyone else along the way, as long as this takes for Dillian White to get his mandatory shot, it just increases the likelihood he's going to get beat by someone, and he's going to end up not getting his shot at all. He's taking dangerous fights like Povetkin. That's not a given. I don't care if Povetkin's 41 or 40 or whatever, how old he is. People say he's tired, he's running out of energy. He looked like he's got a lot of energy against Michael Hunter, who's a very quick, sharp fighter. He showed his explosiveness. He's still got that movement. Obviously, he's 40. He's not as good as he was when he was younger, but it's still Alexander Povetkin. Caused Michael Hunter a lot of problems, and he's a mover. So someone like Dillian Whyte obviously carries more power than Michael Hunter. Who's to suggest that Povetkin can't go in there and iron Dillian Whyte out? It's not impossible, and then end Dillian Whyte's, chase for the WBC mandatory shot. All just because it took so long to get it. That is the problem for Dillian Whyte. His potential shot taking too long, can be kicked down the road. He ends up getting beat by someone and ends up not getting his shot. That is the problem for Dillian Whyte. Another problem, as I said, for Dillian Whyte is the trilogy getting pushed back, and then Eddie Hearn's in a sticky situation where he's trying to get Dillian Whyte his shot, but at the same time, he wants that big fight to happen between Tyson Fury and AJ. If that fight trilogy gets pushed back, that Dillian Whyte fight is not happening for a while. And potentially make it happen at the end of the year. But would it even happen at the end of the year? Because AJ and Fury would need to have their rematch. It could be 2022 before Dillian gets his mandatory shot. So Eddie Hearn is looking ahead in the medium to long run. He's looking like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get Dillian Whyte his shot if this fight gets pushed back. So Eddie Hearn praying that either this fight gets cancelled or this fight actually does end up happening in December. So we have to wait and see what happens. So drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about Eddie Hearn praying that Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder gets cancelled if it gets pushed back into 2021? Can kind of see why he wants to do it. He wants Dillian Whyte to get his title shot because he knows he's not going to be able to deliver for Whyte for his title shot if this fight gets pushed back into 2021, all because of timetabling issues. So drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about what I've said? What do you think about Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, Dillian Whyte versus Wilder or Tyson Fury? Will Dillian Whyte get his title shot? Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me see what you guys think. Like, subscribe, jab the subscribe button, join the KBV boxing community. Cool.